Welcome, pilots. My name is Hybrid V, and today I wanted to talk about something a bit special to me personally, and that is Star Citizen's sound design. And I also want to apologize ahead of time if you do hear my AC in the background. It is 108 degrees here in sunny Southern California, which is about 42-ish degrees Celsius for you non-Freedom Unit users out there. So I do apologize if you hear that. I'll do the best I can to kind of filter that out. But anyway, let's get straight to the video. I wanted to talk specifically about laser cannons. This is not meant to be a bash on CIG or CIG's audio team. This is just meant to be kind of like a constructive critique and also kind of illustrate what my goal here is, which is to kind of talk about what laser cannons I feel like could sound like or could sound better in terms of like actual gameplay and audio design and whatnot. So what am I talking about specifically? Well, recently me and my org mates in the Forgotten Heralds were doing a Maltrox mission, where the one where you have to take Miles Heckard's mission to find and take out Maltrox Arlington in his Idris, and we took out the Redeemer. We just had come from the wipe, and the Redeemer did not have the weapon systems that we wanted. Instead of having the normal laser cannons that we used, which were the Omniskys, we ended up using the Behrings, which are, I mean, they're practically identical. However, the reason why the owner of the Redeemer, Mother Trucking Mexican, likes to use the Omniskys for his Redeemer is because they sound better than, well, the Behring ones. And what do I mean by that? Well, the Omnisky laser cannons have a much more punchier cannon-like feel to them, whereas the Behring ones are a little bit flatter. Now, the sound design is great, it's phenomenal. It's just that the feeling of a cannon is kind of lost on the Behring. Let me give you an example, and I'll play the clip of what it sounds like. Now let's contrast that with the sound of the Omniskys, the same size 5 weapon platform, it's just it is Omniskys instead. Now, listen to those clips if you want, go back to them as you like, and tell me which one you think sounds more like a cannon or feels more like a cannon to you. A lot of times when I've brought this up to other players, they will respond and say that the Omniskys sound more like a cannon, whereas the Behring ones sound probably more like what you would expect an actual laser to sound like, but at the end of the day, they're meant to be cannons, and they're not actually... We're not even going to go into the conversation about what actually constitutes as an actual laser, because these aren't actual lasers, they're firing projectiles. We're going by Star Wars rule of cool here, so ignore all that. Stop bringing that into the conversation. That's not what we're talking about. I want to kind of nip that in the bud ahead of time. What we're talking about is the fact that these are supposed to be cannons that are meant to do a lot of damage to the target, particularly towards large targets. It's meant to go against pretty heavy multi-crew ships. So you would expect it to sound like it could do that. And my critique here is that it just sounds a little flat in comparison. So let's go ahead now and compare those Behring sounds to what the Javelin's laser cannons sound like, which are just scaled up versions of those Behring cannons. Now, I did have to crank up the gain on that clip because it was very quiet in the initial recording that I got from it. It's just the way Star Citizen has its mix set too, but I digress. And it's also an older build. But you can clearly hear how powerful the weapon sounds. Ignore the fact that it sounds very loud. Again, I boosted the gain on that. Just listen to what feeling that evokes, and it evokes power, raw power. It's a cannon. That's exactly what I'd expect a cannon to sound like, regardless of whether it's a laser or plasma. I don't care. It's a cannon. It's designed to hit like a Mack truck. Okay, so what would we expect the Behring laser cannons on this Redeemer to actually sound like then? Well, I'm going to go ahead and use my own sound design chops here to kind of illustrate that example of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to play the original sound clips here so you can hear them, and then I'm going to juxtapose that with my own sound design elements. Now, ahead of time, I'm not saying that my sound design is in any way better than CIG's. They are phenomenal sound designers, and in fact, actually, Star Citizen's sound design is actually what got me into the field of sound designing for games. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to just illustrate the feeling that I'm going for here. It's just going to be my audio just superimposed already over existing footage and audio, and hopefully it just gives you an idea. Let me know what you think about it. Of course, some of you I know probably are not going to like it. Audio, much like other art forms all around, is entirely subjective. I understand that, but beyond what it sounds better or not, I want you guys to listen to that and tell me if that evokes the feeling of a cannon to you and really illustrates the power of that weapon system. Alright, hopefully what you've heard has done exactly what I had intended. I love doing stuff like this all the time. I love kind of peering into the future of Star Citizen, or even the current iteration of Star Citizen, and seeing what I could do with my own skill set to kind of paint or illustrate the way the game may change or function in the future just through sound alone. Alright folks, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this little kind of traipse into Star Citizen's audio and my own audio work. If you do want to see more stuff like this in the future, please let me know in the comments below and I'll definitely check them out. And of course, if you want to see my own sound design work or my own kind of take on Star Citizen's audio, there is a playlist in my channel where you can check out some of that work. I'll link it in the description below. Until next time, fly safe and I'll see you all in the black.